Welcome back, everybody. Episode 28 of the Fulfilled Veteran Podcast. I got three guys on the panel today, so that's good. We're going to get to them here shortly. So I know Rob and I know Trevor. I don't know Johnny yet, but we're going to get to know each other. And usually I have veterans on here, but we got a special guest with Trevor. He's the non-veteran in the room, but his brother-in-law is a Navy SEAL, and Trevor's my book publisher, so you can get to know more about that. So good stuff, man. So guys, let me introduce myself and just let you guys know what I do, and then I'll turn it over to these guys because I want to get to know them better today too. So I'm on Rumble primarily because that's where veterans can say whatever the fuck we want to, and now that we're post-election, I think that's just going to explode. And there's so many veterans that are entrepreneur out there, and that's where we're wanting to have this podcast and make sure you guys are getting the right buddy system of taking care of yourselves and others. So I've got two main menus of mine, and I'm going to tell you about them. And I got a book that's a book series that's bridging the gap between them. One main menu that I do helping veterans is I help you guys get your money. Every veteran out there is worth millions of dollars that Uncle Sam doesn't want you to know about. And I'm a for-profit. And what that means is I can talk about, I call it yes and. Yes, you qualify for 100%. Yes, and property tax reduction and removal. Yes, and college money. Just fuck you crazy college money gone. My son, who's a freshman in college right now, already got the letter in the mail saying, Albert, you owe us no money. That's awesome. So here's what's crazy, guys. I've delivered over $10 billion to the best and deadliest humans on Earth. So MARSOC, 160th Fighter Pilots, SEALs, Rangers, Green Berets. I mean, all these guys. And the reason why you guys don't know about me, maybe, other than word of mouth, is because you guys are silent professionals. I'm a silent professional. So that's why I've got the podcast, so you guys get to know more about me and what I'm doing. So yes, you've earned your money. Yes, I'm the best in the world at delivering it to you. So you definitely go to my website. Make sure you're following me. Make sure you're taking the next steps, as Trevor and I were talking about earlier. So I'll talk about action item stuff today too. The other part of my menu is that I help you guys build your empire, and whether that's a for-profit, nonprofit, anything in between, help you guys build your empire. So we're going to talk a lot about traction today. Trevor was talking about that earlier. So we'll talk more about traction, how we can do legit fucking action items to get you going. So, which is also why I've got a book coming out, a book series. So with Trevor, I've got a book series, 4 books. The first book has already gone to #1 on Amazon's pre-sale list, and we're very strategic with that. This is not the book, but it is like a little survival guide. The first 5 fucks veterans should give. And it's F words like faith and family and fitness and friends and things like that. So, it's a survival guide because it's just straight to the point. It's, hey, yes, you've earned this money. I've got a lot of airline pilots out there who are my clients, and they're like, oh, I can't wait to get the book in hand and walk through the airport and hand a shit ton of them out to the veterans out there, and then just buy more and hand them out. So that's what it is. Buddy checking everybody. All right, guys, I'm going to make this one a little shorter so I can turn it over to these guys. But yeah, we're going to talk a lot about today. You got to wake up every day with the right mindset. You got to get going. You got to partner. You got to have a team. And that's why I'm glad to have these guys on the panel today. So you guys know me. I don't know Johnny very well, so we'll get to Johnny here in a little bit. But guys, start off with at least a minute or two of what you did in the service if you served, and what you did maybe not in the service since you didn't. Trevor, that's okay. We still love you. And what you're doing now to help the entrepreneurs out there get shit going. So I'll start on my left. I got Rob on my left. So Rob, fire away.
Yeah. So first of all, I don't want to keep referring to Trevor as the non-veteran, so we're gonna call him the kick-ass civilian in our group today. How's that for everybody?
Yeah.
All right. Good. Hello, everybody. My name is Rob Fagan. I had the pleasure of spending 30 years in the United States Army, starting out in about 1986 and going forward. I had the distinct pleasure of being an intelligence officer for a while in a lot of different kinds of units. And then I spent most of my career as a foreign area officer serving in security cooperation and defense attaché positions in embassies in Latin America. How that's tied to today is that through that service, I worked a long time in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations, which is what brings me to where I'm at professionally today as a senior emergency manager in the federal government, and also someone who does business continuity consulting in the private sector as well. So very happy and satisfied client. of the Fulfilled Veteran Project. I'm very glad that I found Albert's organization because it's helped me tremendously, and I look forward to talking more about that today.
Trevor Filene.
Badass Civilian is actually what I now go as. And I just realized that when I put my name in here, Trevor Sexy Crane, that showed up me being hilarious. So apparently that's Sexy is my middle name. As Albert just shared, I am helping him publish his book and book series. I have a publishing company called Epic Author, so I work with people to help them. And I love the fact that this is a podcast focused on entrepreneurs and veteran entrepreneurs, because that's what I love to talk about is life and business. Like, how can you get more, have more, build yours? I like your language around that, Albert. For a decade, I've been helping people make a difference with their message. And so what I help people do, and I get the privilege of speaking with Rob and Albert while we were doing backstage stuff before this got started, is I get to connect with people and help them find their voice and then amplify that voice to the world. And I have a publishing company called Epic Author. So Albert and I have connected to like help him with that book and book series and build his brand around it. And then I'm pretty good at some of the marketing things we do that start off very organic, and then we can throw paid marketing towards things that actually work. But it's my privilege to work with some of the most badass people on the planet, and then help them share their message with the world. So I've been doing that for a decade, and really only on the back of me failing massively for 20 years at it. So like I know how to not get a book done and make a difference with your message and feel like you're living your purpose. I've done that many times, and I got a lot of family members that have been vets. My grandfather was in the service as well, and not just my brother-in-law and things. But I'm happy to be here and love this audience and want to find ways that anything I'm going to share is going to be something ideally is going to be tactical for you to execute on immediately, instead of just, hey, you know what? I would rather have anybody listening today find things you can execute on. And Albert, I love what you just said about a buddy system. And I think that the answer for podcasts like this, and why I want to reach out to you, and why I want Rob's help, and I don't know Johnny yet, but why I want Johnny's help, is I'm not looking for what to do. I'm looking for who can help me do it. Because I think a lot of men, and I'm certainly tons of women, like think that they have to, if it's going to be, it's up to me. And I'd call bullshit. I actually think we're all just one person away from like changing the rest of your life. And I'm not trying to figure out how to fix my roof. I'm like, who's going to fix it? I don't want to say like, how am I going to do my taxes? I'm like, who's going to do my taxes? And if someone's showing up here, it's like, okay, who can give me the insight, the tactic, the whatever, and then how to align with, connect with them, and partner with them, man. And Albert, you and I have the chance to do that. I know you've been partnering with Rob. I think that that's a missing component. Everybody thinks they have to figure all this shit out. And I would say, how about no? Like, it's okay to just have somebody else be the expert at that thing and be like, can you remove this nail from my head, Mr. Doctor? Like, as opposed to, I got it. And I am the king of I'll do it myself, which isn't me bragging. That's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes I think people make, is that they feel like they have to do it themselves. And that's why I failed to get my first book done, because I kept thinking, oh, it's not that hard. I should be able to do it, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't want to write a book that was bullshit. I wanted to write a book that mattered to people. And that's, I think, what we're all here to do, is to help people make a difference and whatnot. And I'll turn this over to you, Albert, and hear what we got from the man, Johnny.
Johnny, fire away.
Yeah, so Johnny Lino, come to you by way of the Washington, D.C. area, active duty Air Force, a little bit over 19 years now. And along the way, I found real estate. And so one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about is financial literacy and helping veterans and other high achieving professionals create wealth through real estate investing. And for me, that was leveraging the VA loan. That was the number one resource that I had in my arsenal, in my toolkit to be successful. And just along the way that built multiple businesses, from starting doing fix and flips in 2015 here in the DC area, but then transitioned that to Alabama, and eventually got into the apartment space in 2020, and been really fortunate and blessed to build up a portfolio now over 120 units, $14 million. My wife and I and a few partners that we picked up along the way. And now it's, I started coaching a couple of years ago after publishing my first book, and helping individuals learn how to build wealth. And, because a lot of this, and the subtitle for my book was what they forgot to teach you in school. And because I'm a true believer that investing and the tools that you need as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, they're not really taught in school. They're not mainstream. That school is put in position to build employees and not business owners and entrepreneurs to give you those tools. And so I love to be able to provide those that insight, that mentorship, and that knowledge and experience that I didn't have when I was bootstrapping, coming up along by myself as a lonely entrepreneur out here working part time with building up the portfolio and taking the lumps and bruises out here working with contractors and property managers and just building it up brick by brick. And so that's it. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell, and just love to help other people get serious about building wealth and becoming the best CEO of their last name.
Oh, that's good stuff. And I know Johnny's in DC. I'm in Indiana. Rob, where are you?
Northern Virginia, right outside of DC.
Oh, okay. And Trevor?
I'm in Tampa. We're in the hurricane country. God can throw a couple more of them at us, and we got it, man. We got it.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because most veterans come to me and become my client because of property taxes. And I'm glad I've got the group that I've got today, because Florida, Texas, California, Nebraska, even those guys, all of them are spending about $1,000 a month in property taxes. And again, let's call Trevor the sexy civilian today. But what's crazy is, so I'm looking into this rental home, and I was telling this woman, I was like, hey, let me just tell you what I don't spend. So I get this money tax free from Uncle Sam, about $5,000 a month. Here's what I don't spend. I don't spend here in Indiana $4,000 on property taxes. I already got a note from my son's school that I don't pay tuition and fees for his entire, and he's my first of 5 kids. And also I get paid a stipend, $1,400 a month as my kids are in college and all this kind of stuff. It just, my final point, guys, is that no human that I've ever briefed in briefing tens of thousands of veterans, no human ever has said, Albert, I already know about all that money and I'm making it all. No, thank you. Everybody goes, I didn't know about that. I didn't know. So that's why I want to make sure it's clear. Yes, you qualify for 100%. And when it's permanent total, even Virginia and stuff like that, like no property taxes or reduction in property taxes, everywhere you go, reduction or removal of property taxes, all kinds of other stuff, tuition and fees for your kids. So crazy money. And my point to that too is take that money, and I'm guessing Johnny would love to have known that earlier. We all did. I'm 44, and invest it. I was in Tampa a couple of years back, and I was very glad to chat with an old man. So guys, if you get a chance to talk to an old man in Florida, do it, because he's going to tell you all about how he made his money on fucking real estate. So, Johnny, I'm going to turn it over to you. How'd you get started in this?
I thought you were going to refer to the old man in Florida right now because of my beautiful gray beard. No, to you, Johnny.
Other old men. Yeah. So how'd you get started in this, Johnny?
Yeah, for me, it started with using my VA loan. I tell people, in my book that, coming out of college, engineering degree, but I could have been just starting elementary school when it came to investing and finally having financial literacy. And so the most humbling part of that was having a family member have to sign on my lease as brand new second lieutenant showing up in Warner Robins, Georgia, and couldn't even get an apartment to live in. And so from that moment, I decided like, hey, I got to change. Like, you got this degree, but clearly there's other things out here about life that you don't know. And so got my credit together, and about 10 months later, opportunity got presented. Another lieutenant buddy of mine, he found his duplex. He's like, hey, J2, he's like, man, I found this duplex. I'm going to buy a side. You buy a side. Man, we're going to rent this thing out. When we leave in a couple of years, it's going to be great. And it was a little bit of faith that was involved in that, just because, I had never bought a house before. And so stepped out on faith at the look. I was like, okay, I can use my VA loan benefit, 100% financing. Don't have to bring any money to closing. I actually got a check back at closing because the seller paid our closing costs. And there was about $300 in excess of what was contributed. And after that, I was hooked. I joined my local real estate investor association there in the local area in Macon, Georgia. And, fast forward, went to Intel school as my next assignment for 8 months. And when I arrived in the Hampton Roads, Virginia area in 2011, I bought a pre-foreclosure with my VA loan. So no money out of pocket. 2 years later, summer 2013, moved to the DC area and on the Northern Virginia side, and bought another foreclosure with my VA loan, no money out of pocket. And after that, really the rest was history. We started picking up a couple $25,000 houses in Birmingham, where my wife is from. We started our fix and flip business in 2015, just one property at a time. Eventually, as we transitioned to Panama City, Florida, we did a live-in flip where we flipped the house that we bought, was another foreclosure, renovated it, then moved in, and we got hit by Hurricane Michael. We were there at Tyndall Air Force Base. We were displaced for 6 months, hopping around Airbnbs as we waited for our house to be renovated. And then our business really took off. Overnight, you had thousands of dilapidated houses there, and we're still to this day, over 5 years later, still buying properties that were damaged during the hurricane and renovating those. And we got into apartments in 2020, and they're just continuing to scale up over time. And so it's just been a blessing all along while building this business and building my transition out of the military over 7 years ago. Now, as I kind of come up on the back end of my 20 years in service to the Air Force.
I keep thinking of teamwork and grit, and Trevor, our sexy civilian, he didn't get that kicked into his head like we did. So that's probably why it's weird that us veterans, we know that we've been forced to have, like we talked about before, buddy checks and teams and stuff like this. And then we know better. And then we get out and then we fall on our face because we're like, well, let me just be a little lonely. Let me go work for big corporate, and they're going to make things all better by paying me more money and mushing me into this fucking cubicle. But then we take our whatever amount of time to bounce back out of that. And that's the struggle that veterans go with. Trevor, it sounds like you start out with like not having a buddy team, and you went through that. So I think all of us, let's say, especially men that we're talking to today, have been through our own struggles and would have loved to have had more teammates and more connection. And so how do we, that's part of my main goal of the podcast is to let people know, hey man, you do have a team. You have a team. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but you need to know about Rob and Johnny and Trevor and Albert and so on, and all the partners that we've got. So how can we together get that out there more, Trevor?
So Albert, like I think you said something that I don't know that everyone would agree with, and that is that we all have a team. And I'm not actually arguing with you. I'm just saying that I could see someone listening right now and saying, well, not necessarily me. But what Johnny just said, his story was that he went to friends and people he knows, and those connections led to things. And then as soon as he had some success with one of those things, he reached out to more people in his local area and joined the association of people who freaking do that shit. And so, he decided he was going to do something because things weren't going the way he wanted them to. And whether they were fucking awesome or they were just not as awesome as he wanted them to be, he's like, here's what's next. And he went to a who, and then he expanded the scope of the name of who his team was. And that was his friends and the people that he was with in the service and whatnot. And then the local community, and then the people that would be his renters and the people that, a million people probably connected with. And now we're meeting Johnny for the first time, and he's extending his team with this. And I would think anybody listening right now, if they heard you say that, then Albert, what you're asking anybody listening right now is if you want some help, reach out and ask for help. And that's from anybody that you come in contact with. And the book that you said that you published, Johnny, is what school didn't tell you. Like, how about most of the fucking shit that we need to know to be successful is like 99% of it is probably outside of fucking school. I know that they help you count and they help you spell, and it's a nice little place for children to go ahead and grow up and learn how to initially communicate with people. But I got a teenager that is going to be finishing high school, and I'm not super stoked for her to go to college. Like, I think that it's an old way of looking at, like, as far as the fucking education that I have received to create success. I learned to learn in college, and I learned to get drunk in college, and it was great because I got to play sports in college. But like, everything that I've learned that has helped me create success personally and professionally has come from the people around me. And that isn't just the fucking mentors that are awesome because, oh, Johnny, lead me towards real estate awesomeness so that I can have 120 rooms myself, like 120 doors. Sounds fucking great. But like, I would say that my dad kicking my ass when I was a little kid, or the drama that we all have that we grew up with to have your own version of School of Hard Knocks. Those are fucking the lesson and the education as well. And those are members of your team. I think sometimes a good enemy can be a good inspiration as well, just as much as like, oh my God, like I could just be more like freaking, I don't know, Elon Musk, Donald Trump. Anybody want to go Kamala on that one? I don't know. You know, but I think you're right. I mentioned who, and I love that you just said that, Albert, because you're just assuming that everybody thinks they've got a team. I don't think so. Like, I actually fucking find everybody as my team. I meet somebody cool and I'm like, hey, Johnny, next thing I know, I'll be like, what's the apartment deal we can get going on in Tampa here? Because blah, blah, blah. Like, as soon as I know that I trust someone, and I typically, that comes from them having created a real fucking result, not trying to pretend to be something they're not. And we can smell that shit. That's why when I was single, I couldn't get laid, because the ladies could just smell that I was a desperate son of a bitch with the heart on that's all I had going. But as soon as I had a girlfriend, they could smell that shit on me too. Like, why is it that we're attractive when we have the abundance mentality that we've got everything that we need? And then, yeah, we want more. But I think we're looking for that authentic who we fucking trust. And then I think it's what you're offering here, Albert, is permission for everyone to turn everyone into their fucking partners and team. And I haven't been to a bad conference. I haven't not learned a lesson from something good that has happened. I think I've learned more fucking lessons from the shit that has gone wrong, and even more lessons from the things or people who have done me wrong. And it's you mentioned mindset at some stage of the game here on conversation before or after this podcast started. And I think it's that mindset to nurture, that it doesn't have to be all you. That's actually stupid. Doesn't fucking support. That's not anything that the veterans learned, like you just mentioned. But like, get over ourselves with the ego and look for the who. And what a beautiful statement to say that your team is all around you. And people on this podcast and others are here to fucking help you. And for the love of all that is holy, put your fucking hand out and be a courageous man, woman, them, whatever the fuck you want to be, and accept help, because it's a fucking smart thing. Some of the most successful people I've ever met have asked me for help inside the first 90 seconds of me meeting them, because they know where success comes from. And I think that, Albert, that's a disconnect. I think a lot of manly men like, fuck you, I'll fix my plumbing myself. It's just, and I don't have a team, or I haven't, it's bullshit. And I thank you for saying it, but I think that that's a disconnect, and most people need to unlock that everybody around them is here for their benefit.
Well, Trevor, you highlight something that's a real truism, right? And it's hard for veterans to do this. And I don't say that lightly, because if it wasn't hard, why would there be such a high suicide rate among veterans, right? And so you're hitting on something in that, being in one of the 6 military services is a team sport. Yet when people get out, they can sometimes have a disconnection with no longer being in that team, or feeling as a valued member of something bigger than themselves, which is why there is such a push, not only within the VA, but within every veteran support organization, to try and prevent veteran suicide, because, it's a huge thing, not feeling like you have this team. And I don't have any, quick, solid answers for it, or anything flippant to say for a podcast of why, how veterans can fix themselves. I just know that there are thousands upon thousands of veterans hurting out there because they don't feel like they have a team. So reaching out, as you suggested, and then also trying to be part of this, part of what Albert wants to do, part of what Johnny wants to do, is absolutely crucial, because it can actually save people's lives. Not just about, having an income or having a different kind of job, or writing a book or doing all of these other great things. It can actually save people's lives. And I'll just leave it at that.
Johnny?
Yep, and I think that's the thing, like, kind of as I am embarking on my own transition out of the service, and going to conferences and connecting with more organizations and individuals going through that process, that it can be extremely lonely out here in the private sector in the civilian world for veterans, and not having that camaraderie. I've even had it in the service with being aligned with different agencies and not actually in a true military construct or organization, and being on the base and the culture, that everything that comes around with being in a traditional military environment, that it can definitely be lonely, where you don't have the gym, you don't have the resources on base, you don't have the morning stand-ups, those different things, when you're just kind of plugged into a civilian organization, and you're, especially in the DC metro area, you're just kind of out here by yourself. It's like everybody has a crazy commute. There's no fish fries or barbecues on the weekend on base at somebody's home or anything like that, where you can get to know people outside of work. You lose all of that. You don't have a gym that you can go to. You don't have the defect. We're just areas where everybody congregates and hangs out, and you build relationships. And when you get outside the service, it's the same thing, that it gets lonely. And if you're moving away from a military traditional town, then guess what? Now you're that one lone military member, because guess what? We are the 1% of the population of America. And that's true. And so if you move to a non-military town, then yeah, there may be just a handful of veterans that you can align with. And if you don't know them already, then it may be tough to find the organizations and the people that you need to be around, if you're not purposely seeking out those relationships and trying to foster those relationships. And now more than ever, there are so many tools, and whether it's organizations, social media, being able to follow individuals on podcasts, there's meetups that individuals have, that can foster those relationships, where you don't have to be stuck out there in that silo and be a team of one trying to go and learn, figure out this thing called life alone by yourself. And so my encouragement to anyone is just really get out there, find your tribe, find the people that you rock with, find the people that align with your values, with the mission that you're on, with whatever you're trying to create in your life right now. Find those other individuals out there, because they exist. And once you get into those rooms and those environments, like, it's so energizing. I just came back a few weeks ago from the Military Influencer Conference in Atlanta, and just the conversations and just all the veteran entrepreneurs, just seeing people crushing it out here in the civilian world, and extremely passionate about helping other people, and just so driven by the causes that they align with, that it's extremely motivating. And guess what? Your network is your network. And so if you're serious about building wealth and continuing to grow, then you're going to have to expand your network to include those that align with your mission.
Johnny, to go along with that, I would share with you, if you're not already a member, I haven't asked you, but there's a lot of different organizations that support that. And becoming a serial member of the American Legion, VFW, AMVETS, Disabled American Veterans, DAV, all those organizations are fantastic. And you can just walk in and you're accepted, because you are part of the tribe, to use the vocabulary that you used. And it's a great part of transitioning. You don't feel like you've completely left the military when you're talking to all these different people. And there's a lot of older folks, right? It's naturally appealing to retirees, but that's certainly not the only population, because they all want 1 and 2 tour people as well, So if you haven't done that, there are great things to do, and you don't feel as alone, or as if you're in a town where there just isn't a large veteran population, this will be the one silo of, like, where the veterans get together.
For sure.
Well, I have an idea, guys, and it is for all the listeners here, or watchers, however this is being consumed. We're all talking about kind of the same thing to a certain degree, because we've been someplace, and then the thing that helped us create our success was someone else, like that we put ourselves out there, like you just said, Johnny. If you don't have access to that community, go put yourself in that community. And Rob, you were talking to that as well. So why don't we go around the horn? And Albert, like, you've got your book in call you out, because I want you to give it away. I want you to give here's my challenge to all of us is, what can we give any listener right now? Something that would be tangible, like a piece of advice that would help them create wealth, But for you, Albert, it's like how to go get their money or then build their entrepreneurship, whatever it is, like a tip, a strategy, a thing that they can use right now. And I can't believe we haven't even talked about the election yet, because holy shit, that just went down funky town. And like, I think there's a hell of a lot of things to talk about right there. So what's something that everybody can give right now that would be valuable to any listener, so they can go ahead and go, shit, that's awesome. And then give your gift away, whatever that thing is. And that could be a download of this or that or the other, free, advanced copy of your book, join the community, whatever the hell it is, Albert, because I think every vet should work with you to help them go get what they are owed, to go ahead and get the money that is right there for them. All the benefits, it's just right there. You just don't know how to go fucking scoop that up. You've given away $10 billion or so, or you've helped people connect with that money. Like, what are the tangible things someone can get out of here to, I'll go to your phrase, Johnny, build their wealth. Like, I love that. Like that's what I want. I want abundance through the roof. I want to be stronger. I want to have a better relationship with my wife. I want to have a bigger, you know what I mean? More money, the works. But this would be something tangible that would be a gift we can give, so that we can not just give this lip service, but say, motherfucker, if you're listening right now, here you go. Here's a present. Here's a gift. Here's something you can execute on. And, you know, Johnny, give your fucking book away. Like, here you go. Like, here's a link to get my book so that you can go get yours and build yours. And Rob, you got a lot of books in the background there, but I don't hear that you have a book yet here.
Well, I didn't write any of them, so.
Bit of a connoisseur.
I have read them all, though. Unlike a lot of people, I read all the books that are in my office.
What you have? I just like the way they look on my shelf.
Yeah. They came with the shelf, huh? They came with the house.
That's right. That's
They're
right.
hand-me-downs, right? Yeah. Well, that's a great idea, Trevor. And I think that so on my new website that came out a couple weeks back that some of you guys may not have seen, is that as you scroll down, there's a video that I put on there. It says, pay yourself first. And thank you, Trevor, for let's say gamifying this, because it is true that in order to get, you have to give first, you know? So on my website, go there, you'll find my video. It's YouTube connected. It's probably also, we've got it in, Rumble too, I'm sure, where I show you how to pay yourself, get your back pay clock ticking. And the number one answer that I respond back to, or that I'm giving you something to go off of, is that knowledge is power. The number one line that veterans say is, I didn't know. Albert, I didn't know. And then they hear it from me and they go,
Albert, what do you know the link? What's the link to your site?
oh, it's my website. So we'll put that in the
Got it. I thought you would want to hear
yeah.
on audio, so you'd be like blah 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 blah. So
yeah, so it's gonna be the Fulfilled Veteran
look at the screen and they can
Project.com.
fucking see it now.
Yeah, you'll see my website. So yeah, thefulfilledveteranproject.com. So go to my website, scroll down just a little bit, you'll see pay yourself first. And even if you're not my client, I just want you to be aware. My video says that. The website says that. I want you to be aware. So many veterans don't know. That's why I said in the very beginning, I've briefed tens of thousands of veterans. Not one has said, Albert, I know this. I'm receiving it already. No, thank you. Not one, guys. And talking about attrition, every year, normal attrition, let's talk about the normalcy of people getting out of the military, 200,000 new veterans a year. That's normal attrition. Johnny, do you have 200,000 clients? Rob, do you have 200,000 clients? Trevor, do you want 200,000 people writing books with you? You know, like, I don't have 200,000 clients a year. I want them because the government is stealing from all 200,000 of you. That's a guarantee. I fucking guarantee it. And I will show you I will show you. So go to my website. That's my definitely free giveaway. Know about things. Your money is important to you and your family. Trust me, my old guys all tell me to tell you young guys, get out there and fucking get it done now. So Johnny being younger, get it done. Rob's brother was 65 when he got his money. But anyway.
Well, Albert, that's the thing that I think is so important about your message, is that if you're a veteran, if you're a veteran or you know a veteran, then there's money out there that has your fucking name on it, and it's not in your bank account. It is yours, and you just don't know how to access it. They're not going to go ahead and give you those fucking secrets. So go to Albert's website, learn the secrets so you can go get the money that is yours. It's just like when I was broke as shit, I was like, you know what? I heard a comedian one time, like a really dry comedian, that said, "Have you seen my shell collection?" He's like, "It's the biggest shell collection in the world. You may have seen it. It's scattered on the beaches around the world," or something like that. And I was like, "Okay, hold on. I'm gonna have millions or billions of dollars at one stage of my life. This is when I was broke as shit, like way before money knew my name." And I was like, you know what? That's just other people. I've got, like, I'm already rich. I'm already abundant. Like, there's already, my millions of dollars already exist. Actually, this is before I knew that the government would just print fucking money. But let's just say, I was like, you know what? I don't have other people borrowing it right now. I'm letting Johnny use it. Like, I can't wait for him to, like, stop being a greedy bitch and give it back, So, I just think it's fucking insane that there's not one person you've connected with, Albert, that you haven't just helped them go like, well, here's your money. You just have to do this bullshit to get it. And inside, I think, what is it? Typically in less than a year, you help people just get that initial, Johnny, what you just said was the first money that helped you catapult your success. Like, holy shit. And I got a million questions about that, dude. But like, I would just have everybody, don't just fucking give this lip service or ear service or whatever, but go do that fucking thing, because that money's just sitting there for you. So I think it's a beautiful gift, Albert. Thank you.
Allow me to put some context into what Albert's explaining there, Trevor, having been a personal beneficiary of what we're talking about. So people understand why this happens, right? Because based on what Albert just said, you're like, how on earth could this happen? Like, no, it can happen. But yet, here's what happens to veterans. And Johnny, I hope in your pursuit of retirement in the next few years, you keep this in mind. So all service members, when they're leaving, have to go through some out processing procedures. A lot of that, there are briefings with the Department of Labor. There's briefings with your service about your benefits and what you do to out process the service. And then the VA also gives you a wealth of information about lots of different things. And then you think, okay, I'm well informed. And then you go get your medical appointments, and then they give you some type of rating on what your disability is after these medical appointments. What you don't know as a service member going into this process, and this is what Albert taught me, and Albert's services pointed me in the right direction. I was a denier for a long time because no, my government's not going to treat me this way. This is not, how we treat American men and women that have served in the armed forces. And yet it's true. You are lowballed, so you will shut up. And what happens is 30% disability is a type of marker to where you're starting to have some of your own pension being put away as made tax-free. So you feel like, oh, I'm getting something out of this. No, you're not. It's your pension, and part of it is being made tax-free. You're not getting anything extra, but you're fooled into believing that you are. And it's also less than 50% because 50% is when real benefits kick in. So everyone in the United States military is compliant to a certain regard because we obey the chain of command, we listen to what our government tells us, and we obey orders because that's what we do. So when the VA comes back and says, hey, Rob Fagan, you are 30% disabled, regardless of what you think you are, and maybe it's hard for you to walk, maybe it's hard for you to reach in the morning and play basketball or do anything because you have all this residual things going on with your body. But we have made an assessment and we say that you are 30% disabled. And the reason this happens, Trevor, is because most of the veterans will say, okay, that's what I am. A doctor made this assessment.
Rob, I'm going to interrupt for a second because I think you're saying something really key here. Is that the challenge with this mentality coming out of the services? You were just, correct me if I'm wrong, following orders and doing what you're fucking told, by the hierarchy for a long time, and then you have a whole bunch of trust and faith and love for our country and the systems and everything.
Right.
And what you just said, I think here is so key. You're getting lowballed, so you'll go away. And it's also, I would go ahead and maybe give them the benefit of the doubt, who the fucking them are, that they don't know any better because this is how it's done. And I think one of the gifts of entrepreneurship, and that's another part of this, is that we're looking at the world from a different perspective. Like, I'm just not going to buy the bullshit that you give me, the first fucking thing that comes out of your mouth. Like, I don't trust the doctor who just says this one thing the fucking one time. I want multiple pieces of advice. I have a friend of mine who went to had a shoulder issue. He went to a doctor that said, here's what we're going to do. And they're going to cut the whole fucking thing apart. They're going to replace it with the steel one, whatever the hell. It was like this crazy thing. He went to another doctor and they had a whole nother procedure. Another doctor, they had a whole, so he went to experts, but he went to 3 or 4 or 5 different experts to figure out what was going to go down Funky Town, and he chose the one that made the most sense to him. And I think, Rob, this is such a beautiful, like you said, you're a denier, and what I think we want to do is just be better at asking questions, and then probe. And I think that the other thing that you said that really stands out to me, and I'm going to call this out because I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Let me be clear. I don't. Okay. I'm just listening. I'm listening to messaging, and I don't want you to pass on something so that someone can go, hold on. You mean anybody? Because what you said is that someone that was in their 60s by the time they had gone to go get their money. Like Albert helped them too. It doesn't matter what age you're in. So correct me if I'm wrong. There are benefits there for your kids or for your mortgage or whatever it is, Albert, or the taxes or what you were talking about. There's so many opportunities to get yours. It's fucking yours at whatever age you are. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right.
I'm sorry. I fall in love with the people that I work with. And Albert, I was in love with you and your mission. And Rob, I'm just so upset that people don't know some of the things that are some of the most important people in the world are the people that are listening to this right now, who took the biggest sacrifice for Americans, and they're not getting theirs. And I don't know that there's necessarily someone to blame and to be argumentative about it, but to just go get theirs. And Rob, thank you for giving perspective and context to what you thought. Hold on, I don't want to bash anybody. And I think that was just beautiful. I'll let you get back to it, but I think that's important because I want people to take the fucking action if you're listening right now and go get Albert's free help. Go back to it, Rob, because your context here is really valuable.
Well, I thank you very much, Trevor. And I don't want to get down into the minutia of all the different types of either disabilities or benefits that are available to veterans. But I do want to share this with you because I didn't believe it. Albert told me, I didn't believe it. And then when I checked on it, it's actually true. The website of the VA is very informative, but it's also intended to obfuscate. Because if you look up something, you have to go 3, 4, 5 clicks away, and then even then, it's not clear. So, if we're fooling senior officers who have master's degrees and are literate, it just enrages me that the basic one tour E4, just pick a service, maybe doesn't have very much education, gets hurt on active duty, can't figure this stuff out for himself or herself, and they're stuck because they don't know, and they don't know what they don't know, and their government's not helping them. And this really pisses me off to no end because I have an extraordinary amount of resources that I can reach out to. All my veterans groups, Albert, very literal that I've worked with for 20 years, and I can mount a force of people to help me. What about the people who are really severely injured and can't get on a computer every day or don't know what they're reading? Or, it just incenses me that we have veterans in military hospitals who are really banged up, have all kinds of problems, even amputations, and they've been given a 30% rating on disability when they're missing an arm. Or in my own brother's case.
I'm going to interrupt again. I want to hear that story. But here's what you're talking about things that have just lost my attention because but you're addressing a really cool problem here. And I see one simple solution, and you said it to start with. And Albert was like, hey, we're like, who? Not what are you going to do and how are you going to do it, but who? Like you said, Rob, you didn't know. And then, yeah, there's great information there. Fuck your information, man. What do I got to do? Or Albert, could you just do it for me? Or Johnny, can you just tell me what to do?
Right.
And so when this comes down to it, and I'm not trying to get away from you sharing a personal story, but like, I think the listening here is just go get some help with it. Cause then, dude, when you have to figure out what to do, that's a long freaking learning curve. When you just say, I'm going to do like show you exactly what to do, or, that's your mentor shows you what to do, or they just do it for you, dude, then you just check the box and it's done. Because nothing, you're also talking about a bureaucratic fucking landmine of paperwork, however you fucking slice it. Someone's got to help you fill that shit out, you know? And so I just think nobody has to really figure this shit out other than just go accept help.
Yes. And I will sum up with outsource pain.
Yeah.
Don't take pain on yourself, right? Outsource pain. Hire Albert and Fulfilled Veteran Project, because you don't want to face these rigors of mountainous paperwork, mountainous bureaucratic procedures, people giving you double stories. You don't want to face all this on your own. You want to face it with somebody like Albert and his team and really achieve success.
So I'm going to tell you the negative and positive real quick. The negative is that the VA hides and steals $50 billion a month. $50 billion a month from veterans. And some of the good news is now the VA has been kind of like what Trevor was talking about, that the young guys and old guys both qualify for money. Yes, they do. It's called compensation and pension, although the VA later called it disability. So to scare people off. The VA is so fucking systematically corrupt that they are now they were sued all the way up to the Supreme Court. So there's a young guy and an old guy. There's a retired guy, and there's a guy who did maybe a couple months in the Air Force, and he had to get out of the Air Force due to family issues. And both those guys were owed money, and the government lied to them. And honestly, me and most of my clients have a better case than those two guys do. But the point being that it's at the Supreme Court, so it's going to bring a bunch of eyeballs. Also, so we're at we're after the election. So, Dan Bongino knows what he knows about what he knows. I know the shit I know about what I know. And my hope is that in the very near future, like Trevor was saying, that the VA is so, there's like bureaucrats at every level. They don't know any better. They're corrupt at every different levels. And anyway, it's just such an evil system, if I can say it that fast, that it needs to just go away. It needs to be privatized. Johnny could take better care of his people, his tribe, than I can, because he's got passion for it. Rob can take better care of his tribe than I can. The government's never going to take care of veterans. If they did, they would. They don't want to. Dan Bongino says it very plainly. If they wanted to, they would. They don't fucking want to. And I could go deeper, but my point back to a positive is that's why we're here too, just so you guys out there can get to know that. I'm going to say something about a pay chart. So Trevor, when somebody is, let's say, goes in the military and they got about 5 years in, they know they can, doesn't matter what branch they're in, they can go, well, let me look at a pay chart for 5 years in, an E5 sergeant in the Army. I've got a wife and 2 kids. And then there's COLA, which is like cost of living adjustments. So it could be like, well, if you're DC area, it's more expensive. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, it's less expensive. So the government pays you, and it says on this pay chart, you can legit go, yep, there's where I am in space and time. Boom. I know what I'm going to get paid. You know who does not have a pay chart? The VA. I had to fucking create it, because when you see the pay chart, it is corrupt as fuck. And I have that pay chart, and I'm happy to share it with you guys. But anyway, the weird point is going from 90% to 100, that last 10% is a 38% raise. Does that math sound right? 10%, 90 100, 38% raise. And that's just on VA disability alone. But when you get to 100% permanent total, like me and my clients, that's when the fuck you money really starts coming in for the property tax removal and also the kind of stuff so that I've hit on already.
Albert, Fuck You Money is one of your next books in your series, by the way.
Get your fuck you money now.
Well, you've got your next $5 to give, or your first $5 to give, then get your fuck new money, I think is cool. I'd like to hear from Johnny to hear what he would advice and action steps and a give.
Yeah, no, I think everything that you guys touched on is definitely needed across the community. From just starting going through and catching up on medical issues and having the appointments and the referrals, that it can be a daunting task, no doubt. And when it comes to it, like at the end of the day, you gotta take action. Like nobody cares more about you and your family's well-being than you. We start talking about the individuals that wait to their 50s and 60s to get what's owed to them. And my dad's 100% Vietnam veteran, disabled vet, and I never got a chance to benefit from being able to go to college, or him being reimbursed, or the benefits that come with being 100% disabled, where my sister and I could go to school for free because it was too late at that point. And so that's one of the things, just the education, just getting out there and letting individuals know that, hey, there isn't a stigma by them calling it disability, kind of what Albert kind of alluded to, that no, that there's resources put in place that are aligned for you because of what happened to you during your service. And so the biggest thing that I tell people, and it was chapter 4 of my book, Millionaire Real Estate Success Strategies, what they forgot to teach you in school. Chapter 4 is take action. You have to take action. Like when you start looking at successful people, like we're the ones that just didn't quit. We consistently showed up, we put in the work, and we didn't stop. We didn't quit along the way and get distracted by the little squirrel, the next little strategy, or the next fad that came through, that we saw the mission through to the end. And the thing that you have to realize is whatever it is that you want to be successful in, if it's getting your VA claim, if it's investing in real estate, if it's being a better spouse, you got to take action, and there's no shortcut. There's no hack to doing it. You got to put in the work. And once you get the information and you show up consistently and get the reps in and put the hours in, guess what? Success is on the other side of that equation every single time. And the thing that I encourage any and everybody to know, because like, guess what? Life is short. Nope, tomorrow's not guaranteed for any of us. And if it's important to you, if it's important for the legacy that you're building for your family and everything that's out there, then take the time to get the medical records. Go out there, go down there to the VA. We know the process sucks, and you're probably going to have to go down there multiple times and talk to multiple people, have the same conversation 3 or 4 times to make progress. But it is worth the sacrifice, and it's worth putting yourself in the position where now you can reap those benefits for the rest of your life and for your next generation. When you start talking about the benefits with school and access to education, that is definitely worth all the sacrifices. So if I could give any piece of advice, is take action on whatever is important to you in your life. And for as like to give me, it's like, I have a ton of resources out there on how to leverage the VA loan. I helped one of my clients a couple months ago, bought over $1 million 4-unit property in Chattanooga, Tennessee. No money out of pocket for a down payment. The only thing he paid was 10 grand for closing costs to buy $1 million property. He's making over $6,000 a month for the 3 units that's being rented out, and him and his family are living in the 4th unit. And this is how you build wealth. He had enough land to build 6 more units that came with the purchase. And so if he buys no more real estate the rest of his life, he just focuses on putting that extra 6 grand that they're paying and put it towards paying that off. In 10 years, rent's $2,500 a unit. He could be bringing in well over $10,000 a month in income by just owning those 4 units. And then guess what? Now that he owns the land, he can use the land as collateral to get a loan to go build those other 6 units on the land. But if you don't know the information and you don't have the vision to be able to put that together and know the resources that you're sitting on when we talk about the VA loan, because I think it was a couple of years ago, the VA did a study of the 19 million veterans in the United States, that you had somewhere less than 3.5 million that have used their VA loan. So less than 20% of veterans had actually used their VA loan benefit to buy a home, 100% financing. And we all know the fastest way to build wealth is by home ownership, by owning assets. And you can't get that. And the thing that I didn't learn till maybe 6-7 years ago, you can buy a duplex, a triplex, or a quadplex with the VA loan, where you become an instant landlord. And so there's no excuse, because veterans are sitting on this resource that can help them become extremely wealthy and just sit back and let time take care of everything else. And just make it one asset purchase can change your life.
Johnny, what do you have for a giveaway? Just because I would say God bless you for all that shit, and thank you for sharing so specifically in regards to results too. Because Rob, that helps me know, like, he's like, hey, I did this thing, and then I love hearing a story about results, Johnny. So make sure you fucking sprinkle those in everywhere in your messaging, because it makes a big difference. What do you have as a resource that someone can take action with what you're telling them to do right now?
Yeah, no, 100%. Just go to my website, johnnylino.com/downloads, and a ton of resources, the VA loan explained, and I share my story and experience and the step-by-step process on what you need to do to be able to go buy your next property.
Awesome.
So Johnny, the giveaway, one giveaway that whenever you're ready that I would like to give you is that I'd love to talk to you about your transition and give you just hear what your transition is from the military, and then share some other things that maybe you've thought about and maybe you haven't. I do this all the time with veterans that are transitioning. It's not a service. I don't have a website. It's just like discussing objectively with somebody you don't even know, like what your transition looks like. And I'm happy to do that for you.
No, I definitely appreciate that and would love to do that. And I always tell people that if you want to know what lies on the road ahead, talk to people that are coming back. And so I would love to kind of hear your experience of what you've learned and seen along the way
Sure.
to have that conversation. So for sure.
Yeah. And I love talking to veterans about this because for every veteran, there's a different transition story. And, there's just all these wonderful people out here who are doing what they want, when they want. And then there are some other people that are a little stuck, and so, talking through somebody like that, maybe, I know you're not stuck, don't get me wrong, but just talking through that, happy to help you do that. And then on the giveaway and the resource that I would like to share that is, non-fulfilled veteran project oriented is that, if I may just explain to people a little bit about emergency preparedness and how their communities face this. Maybe you didn't know that your local government, your state government, and your federal government is based, all the emergency planning in our country is based on the fact that they consider individual citizens and their family members ready to survive and shelter in place and or evacuate on their own for 72 hours. Now, did anybody in this room know that? No. So our government does a very poor job of transmitting this expectation, right? And making sure that their citizens are prepared to do this, able to do this, resourced to do this, but that is the expectation. And so when bad things happen, like we just had hurricanes in Western North Carolina, fairly unprecedented, in the last 100 years to have such bad hurricanes in such areas, were those citizens prepared for that? And I would argue that the majority were not. But why has this happened? None of our grandfathers or grandmothers probably had a first aid class because it was part of just common knowledge, right? Way back when. But because of the professionalization of law enforcement, fire, emergency medical, and search and rescue, we have lost all these skills as citizens and as leaders of our families. And so while I don't have my own website yet, and I'm in the throes of starting to write a book, I would share with you that your government at ready.gov is the website. That is FEMA's primary website by which they inform U.S. citizens on how to be prepared for emergencies. That people need to, this is about preserving wealth. It's also about preserving health. And it's actually about preserving your family's lives. So life, limb, property, and the environment can be saved by all of us paying a little more attention to emergency preparedness. We have outsourced this to local government. And when you watch, I'm sure you saw the angst of all these recent disasters. I mean, California wildfires, volcanoes in Hawaii. Whenever they do these interviews, people say, well, where's FEMA? When's FEMA coming? How come they're not already here? That is a fundamental misunderstanding of what FEMA does and how it's structured and what it's supposed to do for you. All disasters are local, and your local government oftentimes chooses not to invest in this, because why would you spend some money on something that's never going to happen? And then it happens, right? We should have taken we can all take a page from the playbook of COVID, and yet we want to put COVID in the background and say, oh man, glad that's over. We're never going to have to do that again. You know, the run on supply chain, not having food, not having toilet paper, you know, all this other stuff. That's just never going to happen again. That was an aberration. Thank good that's over. And now I'm not going to do anything about it. Wow. Everybody needs to freaking wake up, because the last 3 years, we've seen unprecedented levels of civil unrest. We've seen, you know, threats on our homes, threats on our cities. I'm not a, you know, ultra prepper kind of guy. I'm not advocating that people go live in missile silos and have, you know, 6 months worth of food and disconnect themselves from the government. That's not the point here. The point here is that having a go bag, having an evacuation plan, having a family communication plan is really my thoughts and my gifts to you on how to weather the next storm and not just survive, but thrive on the other end of it. And I'll just leave it right there.
So Johnny doesn't know me, but so I was enlisted in the Army. I was infantry first, and then that was late 90s, and then got out. I was medically discharged in 2000, then went back in through ROTC a couple years later. And so I was a medevac pilot is my short point there. And so I flew over to Afghanistan, a bunch of missions, all that kind of stuff, and went through SEER school and all that kind of stuff. So my point is back to, most people don't know about water, how to purify water. So when people were out there buying up Costco levels of whatever, beans and peanut butter and shit paper, I went out and grabbed a bunch of, there's plenty of shit paper once you guys die, because I don't know if you know about water, but you get, there's rules of 3. So 3 days, or let's say 3 minutes without oxygen, you're dead. 3 days without water, you're dead. 3 weeks without food, you're dead. And by the way, if you've ever had bad water or a bad meal, you're fucked. So especially if it's a disaster or something like that. So you definitely can't lead by being, let's say there's so many veterans out there who've heard about like bad things happen if you don't wear shoes. So I don't know if you've ever had like a house fire or something like that. You got to jump up and go action. But a lot of special operators talk about, man, always have fucking shoes on, because you just never know what's going to happen. And no kidding, the house fire, I've got shoes on. My trash can melted completely down. My garage is on fire, and I'm pulling these melted lava fucking trash cans away and putting the fire out later. And by the way, years later, the plastic's still out there, and the plastic is like coating my shoe. So like, if you can't fight, like I'm a alpha guy, I'm a small dude, but I'm gonna go fight. That's who I am. But what if I didn't have shoes on? What if I drank bad water and I'm leaning over and I've got a bug and I can't get rid of it? I mean, you're fucked. Your family's fucked. See, look at Trevor's sexy shoes. He's got beach shoes on over there. But yeah, most people just don't even know about water. You got to know about water first. So how to purify water. So start looking into that. Highly suggest putting that on your fridge.
So Rob, I'd love to give you a gift. And that's to help you set up your website. And I'll give you a software that will help you have, by the time this goes live, and Albert published this podcast, so someone will have already seen, ideally, the link to your website that can go ahead and have a little download link. So go check that out, y'all, on what that is. And I'll give the gift. It's a software that it's smart marketing AI. So it's something that my team has helped me build. I can help you with the gift of a website, so that when you have these great ideas and you want to go ahead and call out like this and say, hey, I want to do this. We want to move to what Johnny said, fast action. And then my solution for y'all listening is, okay, so I'm just listening and I'm like, hey, how can I help? And I'm like, hey, you know what, Rob, I can just do that for you. Like, I'll just give you the website that does the thing. I'll give you the software that makes the website to do the thing. You can get your own domain on there. If you can afford $8, you can pay for your domain name for it, so that everybody can have a link. And we can stop trying to think about doing something and just like fucking Johnny, take action. But how are we going to take action, Rob? By being open to receiving help when it fucking shows up. And then I'll give that gift to everyone here. And so, Rob, I do charge for our software. It's kind of expensive, but I'll give it to you free for 90 days. And anybody listening here as well, if you want to have a website up that will have not just your website, but your CRM, all the text messaging, market, whatever. If you have an entrepreneur mindset and you want to start something, I'll give it to everybody here, Albert. So again, we'll put up a link here so you can go get that. I'll do a call to action right now because I want to give away more than one gift to your listeners here, Albert, if anybody's paying attention. And I have an app you can actually put on your phone, which seems a little odd, but yeah, it'd be my freaking face that would show up on your phone. I'm going to have you. So if you're listening right now on a computer, pull out your cell or go to another thing. So I'm going to give you something to text. And what you can do is you'll find a picture of me on your phone. Okay. Once you have the app. And inside my app, I'll put some resources for you because I'll give away more than one thing. I'll give away a copy of one of my new books. I've got a new join the wait list for that. There's a way to join the community and different things. But if you text the word Trevor to the phone number 36260. So Rob, Johnny, you can do this now as well. And I'll give you a whole bunch of resources there. And I use this for our Epic Author clients. And we help them just create results and bestsellers like Albert does. Albert, I haven't even given you access to this app yet because it's brand new, but it's also one that I have people share the app so that they can give this gift to someone else. And we've got a free book, a free quiz, all kinds of things that can help you. My new book is called Instant Authority. And Rob, you've got instant authority. To the degree like what you didn't share with them, but you shared with me when you said, let me help you with this. And you offered Johnny a chance to talk about transition. I want there to be a call to action. Dude, you might have a book in just the context of transition, of transitioning and capturing the stories of transition from those who have crushed it like Johnny or Albert to others that are struggling and your own personal story. And then you've got this idea of what to do in the first 72 hours. Brother, that's potentially a book in and of itself that can be on your website and have people getting excited about it, talking about it, starting to build your authority instead of Rob saying, I don't have my website done yet. Fuck you. You now have one. Like, yeah, people can go down and just check it out. Be like, what did he make in 3 days or whatever it takes to get this thing out? It'll be that you can put your name and email in to get the damn thing. And Rob, you could go ahead and give them something for being whatever it is. Instead of like, hey, go to this website and check out this link and do the thing. Then the other option, Rob, is to give people some options to do a transition conversation. It sounds like everybody fucking needs this. And who isn't in transition, by the way? Now, I think you're specifically talking about veterans in a particular context. But what you left out is why you're even focused on emergency preparation anyways. Like in what you've done for your entire career. So can you just... Because I feel like you shared more with me than this group when I was getting to know you about why you would have some interest, some credibility here. And after you share, I want to go ahead and summarize something because I'll bet you $1 that you use this formula that anybody listening right now could use. So Rob, you basically just made a promise to Johnny about something you can help him with, the context of transition and whatever. Okay. Now I'm asking you why you're qualified to do that. Like, tell them a little bit of like the proof of why.
So I'm qualified to transition because when you're on the service side of transition, you're looking at a long tunnel with light at the end of it, and you got to keep walking towards the light. I walked towards that light and came out reasonably successful on the other side of the light. So transition is possible for all of us.
Okay. Now, how about the fact that you want to specifically have, like you talked about emergency preparation and things, and you talked about the awareness of 72 hours and whatnot. Why is that a subject matter for you that you know anything about? Like, what gives you the right to tell us that you have some inkling about what you're talking about?
So the right I have is I was affected very early in my life from tornadoes in the Midwest. And our grandfather taught us how to be prepared for tornadoes. I've carried that with me my entire life. And also during my professional life was a humanitarian assistance and disaster relief project officer going into lots and lots of different disasters and in a lot of different countries. And I saw the
For how long?
results for more than 20 years.
Okay,
And
so you grew up with the idea of needing to take care of the emergencies that tornadoes bring. Okay, beautiful. Okay. You then extended that into your professional career for over 20 years, helping people around the globe in multiple countries make this happen. I love it, Rob. Keep going.
So when you arrive to a disaster scene after the disaster has happened, you see the effects of lack of preparation. And so every single disaster that I deployed on, I saw the effects of entire communities not being prepared. And of course, every community is a composite of multiple types of families. And I got to see all that. And when you realize that for minimal investment, a lot of this could have been mitigated against, and it could have prevented suffering, death, and injury, it's extremely impactful. And when we watch it go on around our own country right now, even as we speak, with hurricanes and wildfires and volcanoes, you still see the same things. People are being harmed through not paying attention to their own emergency preparedness.
So Rob, here's a formula that I want to give everybody listening right here that I think we just deployed with this for you. Okay. So you just, and I'm going to give this in the context of entrepreneurship and building your wealth, y'all. So this is everybody listening that you can deploy this formula. I didn't create this. This is just like what makes sense to people. And you're going to put out marketing to tell the world about something. And by the way, let's just look at marketing as communication. So Johnny's communicating and Rob's communicating and I'm communicating, and you can, take action like Johnny said and get up off your fat ass and go take some action someplace. You're going to now need to communicate with others. You're going to have to go someplace, look them in the fucking eyeball, or go on Twitter or whatever the hell it is and say something to somebody about something. So my challenge to you would be lead with a promise. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? This gives you context of the thing. And like Albert was like, when he introduced himself, if you guys go back to the beginning of this episode, he mentioned a little bit about what he does for others and the $10 billion he's helped people find. Like it's a promise followed by proof almost immediately. And Rob, what I heard when you just offered Johnny the transition statement, which is why I went back, is I was like, dude, I don't know that you qualified with the audience here, that they understood why you're worthy of giving him advice around that thing. Because I just didn't capture. We connected for a good 20 minutes before the episode started. So like, I was like, hey, hold on. You forgot to tell me the proof of what you have done. Johnny, when you told me the story about how, some of the specifics of finances that one of your clients got when you helped them do the thing. And I'm like, dude, who doesn't want to go ahead and have that result? And it was $1 million, no money out of pocket, paying $10,000 worth of closing. Like, these details matter. Rob, the fact that your proof has specifics, like, that's why I was like, hold on. You didn't just do this in your professional career. You did it for 20 years. And you took it personal though. And what beautiful storytelling you had. You said, hold on, this came because my grandfather taught us about tornadoes so that we could take care of ourselves. And then I took that forward into my life. And for 20 years, I did that, not just for myself, but for around the globe. And then you followed up with the problems that you saw, Rob. Now, these are all P words. So this is promise. Next thing is proof, so that we know that Johnny's worthy of talking to. And when Johnny said, I got a book, like, you guys, it kind of gave him instant authority. So that's my new book, is called Instant Authority. You guys can have a free copy of it. It's in a release and whatnot. That'll be through my app that I gave you. But like Johnny, you have credibility with that book, but so much more when you offered proof. And then, Rob, what you then next said, and this is kind of what you jumped in with Johnny, is you said, Johnny, I'm happy to do a conversation with you. This is, again, to the focus, Albert, of this entire podcast so far has been who can help you and who's on the team. And so Rob offered it up like, Johnny, I'll just jump on a call with you and help you with this transition thing. And now maybe there'll even be a link on your website, Rob, that you can offer people a transition conversation of anybody listening to this episode, by the way. Okay. So now we have a plan. So the first 3 P's here are promise, proof, plan. And you can tell somebody, hey, if you're in entrepreneurship and you want to be, and you're like, I have this idea. This is my promise. This is the direction I'm going. I want to stand out and be this guy that's doing these things, Rob, for what's next for you for the next level. Or Albert saying, I've got a multiple book series coming out. Or Johnny, I didn't hear from you yet, like what your plans are for the future. I'd fucking love to know what your vision is of what's coming next. But that can be the first thing that anybody listening right now can take action with. You can tell people one person at a time, or fucking get on somebody's podcast or put it on Twitter or whatever the fuck it is and say, this is what I'm going to go do. And that's what Elon Musk does, man. You know, he's like, hey, I want to go to Mars. And now the proof comes next. Is like, you know what? This is why this is important to me. You know, I learned from my grandfather that you better be prepared when a tornado comes to town. Rob, like that's like you are at the forefront of your fucking story and what makes you unique to stand out and help somebody. This isn't pretend. It is like the proof. Like I learned it from my grandfather when I was 8 years old. Whatever. By the way, that might be a better part of the storytelling is I can still remember when blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure. Another thing, but it depends on context, right? And then you're like, and then that's what I did in my professional career. Specific. And now here's your plan. And what'd you say? Go to this website and get the link off the thing. All right. Like you said, go to the VA or whatever website you said. And I'm like, no, go to Rob Fagan's freaking website. Now that's where you get the resource. But now you've got your plan. And then this is what Albert said is you've got a plan. Hey, you need to know about water, you know, and there's the rule of threes. And so at any rate, that's your plan comes after you've proven this. And by the way, if you look at a YouTube video, guys, you can all go do this. Go watch YouTube and go look at a good mentor of yours or videos that you're into if you're looking at anybody giving advice. And if it's one that has a lot of views on it, you can see whether they match this thing. They tease you with the promise about what it's about. Good mentors will actually back this up with proof of evidence of why you should be listening to them in the first place. Unless they're already a fucking household name, I suppose. Then to some degree, Elon Musk doesn't need to say, I'll prove it because everybody knows that. But then your plan come next. Most of the time, Rob, I think people get bored with the plan or they just don't trust it because they don't know that you're qualified to be helping them. And it wasn't clearly articulated about what we were fucking talking about in the first place, potentially when most people are talking. So Rob, love to help you give that gift. I'm going to remind everybody here, you go to my app and you'll get some free resources. And you'll have to personally message me and text me on the app through the thing so that I can get you guys free access to that software, I promise. So Rob, that's to Albert, that's to anybody who listens to the show. They can just send me a private message and I can make sure they get our software and all that for at least 90 days, 100% free. It's like over $1,000 a month as far as like what it would cost to do, but it's yours. Because I want to make sure everybody listening here takes fucking action. And Johnny, you said that your action was in chapter 4 of your book. It sounds to me like it should almost be chapter 1. Because I feel like, okay, you guys listening here, a measure of your intelligence is whether or not you take fucking, if you like something here, just don't listen and go on to the next podcast or thing. Go do something with someone on a thing. Now, I was also a scuba instructor at one point. And I grew up in Arizona, but then I became a scuba instructor because I wanted to like breathe underwater and shit. And when I was learning to do that, they said, what happens when they were teaching me safety stuff as well. So this is now emergency preparedness and like, make sure you don't fucking die when you're scuba diving. Right. And they taught me stop, think, breathe. They said, if you start freaking out, you're underwater, you're 30 feet underwater, you're 100 feet underwater, and you're going to, at some point, freak the fuck out. And if anybody's listening right now is freaking the fuck out and you feel like you're underwater, or the next time you feel like you're underwater, I go back to this. And Johnny, this is the only thing I put ahead of the action step, because I want everybody to go take action, but I don't want them to like, you can take the wrong action. You can run into the fire, so,
right. Wrong way.
Exactly. Like, hold on a second. Just don't get up and take action. Like, let's get some advice first. Like, what's the direction you're going? And I like that personal advice of like, and this is what I learned scuba dubing years ago. And this was stop, think, and breathe. Instead of freaking the fuck out, which is typically what I want to do, like especially if I can't breathe underwater or whatever the hell it is, or I'm scared, or when I had to file a bankruptcy, or when other bad shit happened to me, or I lost people that were close to me, or whatever, I felt underwater, and that fucking anxiety that's in my chest, not being able to pay bills, whatever the fuck, this comes up for me. Stop. And because when you're underwater, and I've been 120, 40, 50 feet underwater, freaking the fuck out because I think I'm going to die. And instead of all I want to do is like panic, swim to the surface. You guys probably know that's not a good thing to do. So stop, think was number 2. And then breathe is number 3. And that's just stop, think, and breathe. It takes 10 seconds. It takes 20 seconds. And now you can go ahead and react and respond and take that action like you're talking, Johnny. And I like this to be an action typically guided with a plan or a path, Rob, because you've done this for 20 years. Or Albert's found a few billion dollars for people, or Johnny's figured out the real estate. And now I can be like, okay, Johnny, what would you recommend I go do next? Oh, I'll get your book. Like, or I'll get a call with you or Rob for that thing. So I feel like this earns the right, when you share in that promise, proof, plan piece, you can certainly address the problems, Rob, and now you're connecting with people even freaking better. Because Albert, like we all of us in storytelling, like address the problem. We're like, okay, been there. And that's my gift to everybody. And I love the fact that I get the chance to connect with cool people again. So over to you, gentlemen.
No, sounds good. So, man, I told you this goes fast too. So we're already at almost an hour and a half. And we haven't talked about, now we're post-election. So,
oh, good Lord.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about the election. I'm just going to say that we're post-election now.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot, I think back to America spoke, and that the American dream is alive and well. And I think that we're the first ones having a conversation about this on this podcast of like Trevor was talking about. I think for a while there, everybody was just kind of, military terms here, squat hold, like just kind of what's going on with this, what's going on the other side of it. But now we know where we are. Now we know what the next steps are going to be. We know we have a hell of a lot better. 2 months ago, if I said, hey, what's January looking like for you? Everybody's kind of like, fuck, I don't know. Feast or famine, I don't know. I hope we get back to normalcy, even just fucking normalcy. Sub $2 gas here in Indiana would be nice again. I haven't seen it in a few years. So I know you guys are out there in ritzier DC. So I can't even imagine how fucking expensive that is. But you guys ride trains all the time, huh? But I hope that in pushing this forward in a positive way of, okay, I think a lot of veterans have a lot more, okay, there's our freedom that we have fought for and that we signed up for. So now how can I take my own passion forwards? And so what do you guys think now that you know more about what Trevor's talking about with plans and people and all that kind of stuff, what do you see for this new wave of Americanism again?
Personally, I'm cautiously optimistic that both sides of this can take a real deep breath and realize that this was a fair election, and had it gone the other way, I would say the exact same thing, because whoever's in charge, I just want them to govern and be able to create legislation for the American people and do what needs to be done for our safety, our security, and our policies to go forth as a proud, wonderful nation that we are, regardless of which party's in power, right? I just want whoever's in charge to govern. And I think, you go back to like the 70s and 80s, and we can name a whole bunch of, famous U.S. politicians on both sides of the aisle. And they used to close the door, make legislation, come out and have joint press conferences. And we haven't done that in a long time, really, to have this kind of like, hey, look, we disagree.
This means for Main Street, though, if I can put a finer point on it, what do you think this means for Main Street as far as like, and veterans being, to me, I think the global agenda is gone, and it just is like Johnny does and Trevor does. Like, and hey, let's get back to the kitchen table, and whether you're a veteran or a non-veteran, and you maybe you're a good teacher, maybe you're a good faith-based person or something, and any kind of leader or passion. Let's get. I think we get back to tribes, kind of what Johnny had said. Way more local. And anyway, but Rob, go ahead and take that further.
No, Albert, I was just hoping that ideally politics is really boring, so people can just live their lives. right? And the people governing can govern and do the right thing, and it's not overly dramatic. For the past few years, it's been, the daily news cycle of drama. And man, I just hope America can get back to being America, normal things.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely optimistic. The thing that I would have been optimistic either way. That the thing that we have to realize is like what actions do we need to be taking to move the needle on our plan on where we want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and now peel that back. Okay, well, what I need to have done by year one, year two, year three, or what performance metrics do I need to be looking at each quarter to make sure I'm making a difference, And so the thing that I think we have from an economic standpoint to look at is right now coming out of rampant inflation. And we've seen the Federal Reserve, they just cut a quarter point earlier this week, whereas now that inflation is somewhat pulled back. Are we dropping interest rates too fast that are now we're going to have that whipsaw and have rampant inflation ramp back up because the economy is doing pretty good. Unemployment stays steady. We're right there at 4%, 4.1%. And we're not seeing a lot of businesses fire individuals. You're not seeing massive layoffs. GDP is right there around 3%. So we're seeing moderate growth in the economy. Now, if we drop interest rates prematurely and everybody tries to go out to start buying real estate and things where we know we haven't kept up with demand, with supply, with new construction and things like that. So I'm just going to be interested to make sure that we keep a level trajectory where we don't do things in a way where we're cutting taxes, but now we're looking at deficits continue to go up because we're not generating enough tax revenue to pay down the deficit, and we're pulling back. And so I think there's a lot of things to look at and continue to grow. I think real estate investors, we're going to do great. Real estate, if you don't have the right strategy and tool set and skill set, you can do great in any administration. The last 4 years have been phenomenal for us. We bought 4 apartment complexes and picked up single family residences for rentals. And so I think the big thing that veterans need to focus on is having a strategy, having a clear vision on where you want to be 5, 10 years from now, and just go out here and do the work and align with the right individuals that can help you accomplish your mission. Look at the tax code and understand the laws that are out there. How can you set up your business in a way to leverage what the IRS has already told you they incentivize you to do, which we already know in a capitalistic society, investors win. Those who own assets the last 3-4 years, as we've seen the stock market ran up, that we've seen equities gain appreciation way faster than wage growth. And the thing is that investors win in the United States. And the thing is, you have to figure out how can you become an investor. And that's what I love about home ownership, because the first step with that is being owning your own home. And for veterans, that VA loan benefit where they make it extremely easy for you to step out and purchase that first property. So I'm definitely optimistic and think the future is bright. And I think if I can give any piece of advice, it's like, okay, how can you set up yourself the next 4 years to position yourself to really do good?
I appreciate your insight on that, because it's deeper in the weeds and some stuff I was looking for too. So I appreciate that. Trevor, what do you think?
How about I go last? I want to hear what you have to say, Albert.
I'm optimistic. I think that, like what Johnny was talking about, that the pendulum swinging back too fast could be dangerous, but I think that us as Americans can calm down anything. And I like that Trump said some things about caregivers that nobody's ever said. I don't know if you guys heard that, but there's so many caregivers out there. It doesn't mean that you have a missing limb or anything, but I think that's nice that there are spouses and all that kind of stuff that really just haven't been able to be recognized, not financially, but just in any way. And I think that's really nice to hear that from the podium recently. So, but yeah, I think I'm super optimistic now. At least with my people, super optimistic.
Well, you guys were very generic G-rated responses right there. I'm going to go a little bit more like I say, thank God that things turned out this way. I was very concerned about Trump not winning. And so I'm extremely enthusiastic about a lot of the changes that are going to go down, to put it mildly. Now, I think Johnny nailed something here, which is like, Albert, this is an actionable thing to get clear about your vision of what you want. Because it really doesn't, like, he's like, hey, I'm going to be optimistic no matter what. He said, if someone else would have won this election, I'm still going to be responsible for what it is I'm going to create in this world, and look at the opportunities and problem and educate myself around it. Now, it's because he has a vision for what he wants, and he was called action to everybody was to get clear about what do you want. Like, it's great that Trump is there, or if you're upset about that, then all right. But now, what do you want? And I, when I'm helping people, Albert, when we started this podcast, I was like, what do you want from this? Like, I always am like trying to reverse engineer success. So Rob, the question is, what would you love? Like, in my pattern of this, Johnny, my first millionaire mentor told me that the secret to his success was love. And I wanted to gag myself. I was in my 20s and I'm like, shut up, man. Like, tell me what I got to do so I don't have to be a broke bitch. And he was like, it's love. And I was like, Jesus. But then he said, look, I only take on projects that I love. I only hire people who I love and who love what they do. And every day I get to live in love. And I was like, dude, now I'm the old guy saying that thing. I really feel like this is it. And so I'm throwing in love there on you, Johnny, because it's that vision statement of what would you love, Rob and Albert, what would you love out of this action that you're taking right now, watching this particular podcast? Or Johnny, you said, where do you want to be in the next 3, 5, 10 years? Like, let's reverse engineer, because you can fucking do anything you want. If this is a veteran, listen to this. The amount of bullshit that you had to get through to get here, like, you can fucking do anything you want. And I believe in, I'm 50 and hold on, I'm almost 53. So like, I realized that my daughter that's 17 in her last year of high school can do anything she wants with what's next. And then my father, who's going through a divorce right now with his 5th or 6th wife, is like, I'm like, holy shit, they're at the same place. They're like, my dad can now do anything he wants to do. And then I looked in the mirror and I was like, hold on a second. So can you bald bastard. This is me talking to myself. What would I love? And why can't we create, if we can create anything we want right now? And who said it here that life is short? I think this was you, Albert. Like, we don't have fucking time. And so I don't want to wait, man. I'm not waiting for Kamala or Trump to come give me shit, because it's not going to fucking happen no matter how you slice it. So what would you love? Key. And write down some money things and some contribution things and some whatever those things are. Meditate about it. Stop, think, and breathe about it. Fucking go for a walk about it. But if you can design anything you want with all the hardship and bullshit that you've gone through to get you where you are, you can do anything. Well, let's get clear. We all can have anything we want over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years. If you get clear about what you want. Now, the second, I've got 3 questions around love here. What would you love? The next 2 questions are, and I'm piggybacking here. You asked about the politics, and Johnny, I like the way he said it. Is like, I'm going to be optimistic regardless. Now, I think we have a whole bunch of new opportunities here for entrepreneurship, y'all, and building some wealth over the next 4 years, pretty significantly. But answer these questions first. This goes into my stop, breathe thing, but I think it's like, who do you love? And Johnny, this is your family. This is also the people that you want to serve, Albert. So this would be like the veterans that you're trying to get to, the 200,000 veterans that aren't being fed, blah, blah, blah. Who do you love? This is your avatar. I'm talking about business shit right now, just not love. This was the advice from my first millionaire mentor, not just some fucking idiot. He said, pick projects that you love and build a life that you love, build a business that you love. Find out who you would love to serve so that you can fall in love with your customer. Like Rob said that, and Albert, you called Rob a force multiplier, that you've aligned with him in a partnership because you use that a lot. You said that was also a military term. And I'm like, holy shit, like, aren't we all, can't we all be a force multiplier? And who is it that you would fall in love with that is your perfect avatar that you want to go serve? And then I would challenge you in entrepreneurship and in business to figure out, what does that person love? So Rob, if you write a book, then you want to know how to articulate what people love, which is like problem solved and results delivered, Johnny. This is like, okay, if you want to stop having these problems, then, and you want to start getting some of these millions, or you want to get your house for free, or holy shit, I'm thinking of one of your books, Johnny, can be about how they should take their VA loan and get that duplex, triplex, quadplex, and get paid every fucking month. I don't know about you, but I would much rather own a place and get paid rather than just own a place. I mean, I don't know, you guys get to choose, but like, I would be like, holy
Trevor,
shit, I like the idea of.
Can we play a game with my true vision? And then you haven't heard this.
Dude,
and Trevor and I have known each other for a couple of years. Rob and I have known each other for a couple of years. I want to be the Dan Bongino for veterans. So like doing more podcasts, stuff like that. And like even, I do long form, 2-hour long form twice a week. And I'd like to get to a point where I'm doing like maybe a 30, 45 minute, maybe an hour.
Pause for a second, because you're rocking, and we've done this before, but let's go ahead and have this be an exercise for everybody. So Johnny, Rob, and anybody listening right now, this is an exercise for you. I'll do it too, because I'm not exempt. I take a lot of notes. So while I'm sitting here, you guys are talking and stuff, I'm writing constantly. So I'd say pull out a blank piece of paper and let's answer the question, what would you love? And so Johnny, you don't have to share all this shit, but like I challenge you to write this shit down. Anybody listening right now, take a moment, because Albert's going to start telling you his. And a good story is one that gets you thinking about your own dreams and what you want. And so let's go ahead and get clear and take some fucking fast action and be intelligent with what we're doing with our time right now. So as you now do it, I'm going to write down what I would want. And you're going to have different things you share, Albert, that are going to inspire me to, oh, hey, that's a good fucking idea, because we can create anything. Like, let's go ahead and pull out the paintbrush. And here's your magic wand, y'all. It's a fucking pen. And anything you write down with it can come true. But if you don't fucking write it down on this paper, Johnny, you ain't getting it. Okay, play this game like that. So if you want the $1 billion or the 100 or a hot wife or whatever the hell it is, and she's got real big boobs, or she loves giving blowjobs or whatever, to just you, I know, like, only you. So like, then write it. This is write it down. Hold on.
Oh yeah, no,
I didn't get that last one.
Loves giving Albert blowjobs. Okay, go for it. What would you love?
Yeah, so mine is establishing a private equity fund that I can build and establish, so line of capital and being able to hand that down to my next generation.
Cool. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so looking to start next year, raising $10 million, primarily focused on veterans here in the DC area, but really nationwide, but really educating them on how they can diversify outside of the roller coaster that's the stock market, and invest in alternative assets where everyone knows that they need to invest in real estate. I think it was a Gallup poll, the last 14 years, real estate has been voted the best long-term investment asset above gold, stocks, and bonds out there. But most people, they don't want to be involved in changing toilets. They don't want to be personally managing and answering the phone at night. And so being able to passively invest in a fund where you could buy bigger projects, buy self-storage and apartment buildings, and you can get the equity, you can get the depreciation, the tax benefits, and the passive income without having to change the toilet. So that's really just educating veterans and other business professionals on how they can benefit from real estate without having to be hands-on.
So, Johnny, I think you're onto something. I was at a mastermind meeting with some millionaires, and one of the dudes stepped up and he was talking about the real estate investing he'd done. And he said he's wanting to take on investors at the next level of what he was doing. He was scaling up. And he said, would anybody be interested in investing, in real estate? And everybody in the room raised their hands. So these are all people who had money and didn't want to deal with the bullshit of getting it done. So I'm just throwing that out there to you. But as an exercise, Johnny, I'm going to ask you 3 more follow-up questions, not just about this, but this is for everyone listening right now. And I think you did a great job there, Johnny, saying who you're targeting, to help, and what they're going to get out of it is some money without having to do the toilets or whatever. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. But this is for you, Albert, because you had kind of started this and wanted to use it as a thought experiment. What else would you like? Like, this is, and I want you to answer this, Johnny, with less story so that we can kind of go around the horn here, and more like we're celebrating with champagne. And Johnny, it's 3 years from today. And Albert, you're now known as the dude that is the blankety blank of blank. Okay. So we're going to be celebrating. Johnny, this is a fucking toast. I don't have time for you to tell me the 27 fucking sentences is about whatever. We're celebrating results in your life that you're proud of. So that's the context of this. because I don't need, everybody gets caught up in the how and the what am I going to do next and all that shit. And like, hold on, man, we are just dreaming of what Santa is going to give you under the fucking Christmas tree 3 years from now. And you open it up and be like, a brand new bike. Like, whoa, bike. Like, we're going to go fast as fuck. Johnny, what else would you love 3 years from today that is under the Christmas tree? You got this private equity fund. Awesome. What else?
Spending quality time with my kids. I think that time freedom and traveling the world. That's at the top of the list.
Okay. How much time each year?
Throughout the summers.
Okay. So we're talking 2-3 months?
Yeah, 3 months. 3 months abroad a year.
Okay. So I'm planning on going overseas in December. We're going to spend 3 to 4 weeks out of town. And my intention, like, so we're planning that trip right now. And Johnny, I was like, well, hold on. What else do I want? Because we're going to go to Colombia, I think. So we're going to be in Colombia for a few weeks. And we're like, okay, well, I want to have an adventure there with my kids. So I'm bringing the kids. We're going to probably bring the dogs and shit. But I was like, you know what else I want? More money. I'm like, hold on. I want to have December be my biggest month while I'm in a new place. So I want to travel the world with my kids and make more money doing it, working less, having more fun, helping more people. What else would you like? And I'm trying to do this in such a way that Rob and Albert and listener, you can fucking do the same thing. Like, I'm trying to challenge you because you just inspired me. Like, oh yeah, I remember. Holy, I got to fucking take some action with that then, because December's like coming up real fucking soon. And I got to figure out how to go ahead and set up December to be my biggest month of the year. I got to get clear about the vision of what I want first. Johnny, what else would you want? You fucking great answer, by the way.
Helping 1,000 veterans purchase their first home or reuse their VA loan. So 1,000 people a year, I think that would just change the trajectory of a lot of lives.
If it was 1,000 people a year, are we celebrating champagne with 3,000 people that you helped find a home, or in 3 years you've hit your first 1,000?
I think in 3 years we hit the first 1,000.
So in 3 years, hit the first 1,000. So here, I'm asking for specificity, y'all, because now Johnny's got a plan. He's looking for 1,000, and so I think that's beautiful. Albert, what are yours? What would you love? Because you started this game.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, like, and I can look at Dan Bongino and go, okay, pretty much exactly what he's got. Like 2 million followers would be nice in 3 years. 2 million veteran followers. That'd be awesome.
Okay. 2 million veteran followers. What else would you love?
And that would be on the podcast, so I can have like the Albert report rather than Dan Bongino report kind of thing. You know what I mean? So that sort of thing. And so, yeah, same thing with what Johnny's talking about there, family, time with family. I need to travel more. It'd be nice to now that things have calmed down globally, it'd be awesome to get out there and travel more. A quarter of the month a year of the year would be awesome. Cool. And just like what you said too, Trevor, that the months that you're gone, shit still just keeps coming in, right? The good stuff keeps coming in. Okay. Money keeps coming in.
So monthly recurring revenue. You'd like to have monthly recurring revenue of how much while you travel?
I think, and I'll start thinking about the investment stuff because I want to do more investment into real estate. I've been looking into it for years, and it's now like I know that I want to do it. And even Johnny didn't see this, but last week we had another guy on the podcast.
Let's go. I know a guy.
There's nothing. I was gonna say I know multiple guys. That's what's even better about it too. Yeah. So being able to partner with you guys too. I'm excited about that. So
I challenge everybody to think of right now. And Rob, Johnny, Albert, you don't have to share this number. One of you, please share a number. I'll share a number for me that's a goal. But I challenge everybody listening right now to come up with how much money do you want to make a month. And I'm not talking about next month. I'm talking about a year from now or 3 years from now. Pick one of those 2 dates and say, how much money do I want to be earning a month from whatever the hell it is coming in? Because this is about, Johnny mentioned building wealth. And Albert, you said it's not just about having people go get their money from the government, but that they can build their empire. So they're going to build an empire that actually kicks out some money for you. How much do you want to be making a month? Like, be clear. Mine's $1 million a month.
So I was about to say,
I want to do $1 million a month. I want to be able to give away over $1 million a year. Like, that's my goal. Now I'm not there yet. So like now I have, if I know where I'm at, if I can tell the truth about where I'm truly at with my money, as far as instead of me deluding myself, which I've done in the past. I used to think I was fucking taller too, and then like, hold on, either I shrunk 3 inches or 2 inches, or I've been lying to myself since I was a teenager. I think it's a little bit of both actually, but like, what's the truth of where you are? And what's the truth of where you want to go and why? And
So I
I
think
see
about this too, and this feeds into these guys too for Johnny and all my veterans out there. Because if I'm helping 1,000 veterans a month, and let's just call an average of me getting paid $10,000 a veteran kind of thing, I mean that's $10 million a month. And then they go, well, now that I've got my money, I want to go work with Johnny and do the thing, and I want to work with Rob, who's doing his thing. Like that's why I've got partnerships on my website. We haven't really talked about that now as an action item too, but just want to say that I mean abundance.
Well, I think it's important that people pick a number because that gives you a target. And then Johnny, it's like, is that really the vision and why? Like, and I can say a number that's something weird, like, and just throwing it out, but are you really committed to that and why? Like we're just in the silly creation mode of what we want Santa Claus to deliver under the Christmas tree. But like abundance should be part of that, and money's included. And I think oftentimes people focus, and Johnny, you slithered into this a little bit when you started talking about it, because you started talking about the impact you're going to have. And I think that's probably more important than the fucking money. Money's just a measure. So I want to go to that for a second, because sometimes I meet a lot of people who are scared to tell me their fucking number. And they don't want to do it because they feel like they're being greedy. Or they look in the mirror and say, what, like, because we all have our shit. And I see the money that you've got in your bank account as like an adult report card. And it's a measure of how much value you've brought others. So if you see it from that, I like to count, Rob, an impact dollar more than I do my dollar. An impact dollar is 10x of what I have. So if I have $1 million, that means to me that I've delivered 10 million in results. Like Albert, if you receive 10 grand, you give your clients, the people that you help just get this shit done, so much more than that gift. Johnny, you help people get into a home for free. Okay. So like there is a significant amount of value that we need to give others, and people like spending money when they value what they get. And I think that if we take away the ego and the whether I deserve it or whatnot, and there's a lot of good things you can probably do with money. So I just like to diffuse that, because sometimes it's like, it sounds fucking greedy. I would say stop being fucking selfish and come up with a number that really excites you, not because it's how much money you want, because it's about the impact of how much value you've given others. Because throw a 0 on the back of that, and that what is currently what you're robbing the world of, because you haven't figured that shit out. And Albert, I'm talking to you, because you've already created some abundance, but then there's apparently hundreds, somewhere between how many you're helping right now, up to that 1,000 that are not getting your support right now. This is about, again, going back to my first millionaire mentor, this is about love, man. If you really fucking care about these people, then we got to figure out, get over your ego, get over your fears, get over your bullshit, get the fuck up out of bed and find a mentor who can help you. That's already walking down the yellow brick road, because you don't have to go through the forest like fucking Tarzan. You can skip along the road like Dorothy in a blue dress. Johnny, you look so fucking good. Your little dog.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. For me, my number is 50,000. 50,000 a month, between disability, retirement, investments, and the income from the business. We're helping clients, and I think 50,000 a month sets that framework for everything that I want to see to come to fruition.
It's beautiful. Rob, answer a different question, not just the money question, but what else would you love if it was 3 to 5 years from today? Because I'm looking for something that would inspire a listener here to grow the vision, Johnny, of what they're thinking they can create. So we talked about some money. We talked about some reach, Albert, with 2 million followers who you're helping and supporting, and 1,000 people that you might, both of you guys chose Johnny and Albert, 1,000 people that you might serve, right? Might be investors, or that you help Albert to hit a number. That's cool. Rob, what's something else that's on your what would you love?
I would love a combination of methodologies by which you are actually increasing individual and community preparedness. And it's really hard to measure, right? Whether a community is actually prepared or not, or whether a family is actually prepared or not. But I think through a combination of public-private partnerships, outreach, webinars, seminars, personal engagements, I don't know what the wonderful mix is, but
Rob,
just
what do you think?
helping people
I'm
get
going to challenge you for a second. I'm going to help quantify and something so that you give value right now, and it'll help me. What are 5 things that I could do or anybody could do to be prepared so that you feel like you would meet that result? Just talk to me right now about what I could do. Because Albert said something about water. So what are your top 5 things so that Johnny's prepared, so I'm prepared? What do I got to go do?
So, Trevor, if you were going to be a better prepared citizen, you would need to have a fully kitted go bag.
Okay.
In order to shelter in place or evacuate.
Okay.
You would also need, as Albert referred to, some sources of water and food in addition to that go bag, right?
Okay.
You would also need a family communications plan. We call that a PACE plan, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. Okay. Ways to talk to people and the technology to do so, if some of it's technologically based. And then lastly, you should go through your home for safety and preparedness reasons from top to bottom and take a look at everything, right? So it's not just, most people have smoke extinguishers or smoke alarms, but it's much more than that. You know, the outlets, the safety aspects of your stairs, protecting your home from intruders. It's making a system of systems for safety and preparedness for yourself in your home.
Okay. That's 4. Do you have 5, or is 4 the short list?
Well, the 5th thing would be integrating your family and making sure you have a rally point outside of your neighborhood if your family members drive or if they're old enough. So a lot of this is age dependent. But if you have multiple family members that go to different locations every day, everyone needs an outside the neighborhood rally point.
Okay. So, dude, if you helped me with some details, I'm guessing you have some details of what you think should go on my go bag. I'm guessing you have some ideas of what should happen for water and food, for the community, the family communication plan, which you called PACE. Sounds like I have a system for that. Where the assessment or audit that I do on home safety, internal and to make sure we protect against intruders. And then we have a rally point. If I had those 5 things, do you think I would qualify as one of your citizens in a community that is prepared?
I do. Yeah, I do. These are the hallmarks of preparedness.
This is fucking beautiful, because just notice, this happens all the time, guys. People say things. This is for everybody listening right now, because Rob said, well, I don't know how to measure it. We just came up with one. We just came up with and really fast. Look how fast it happened. All it took, Rob, was you saying you wanted something and then me having the discernment to just have you qualify something. And you're like, yes, that would count. Well, good. How many people then, again, Rob, I'm interrupting because I know you can talk more about the nuances of this. This is just, what is the champagne moment 3 years from today? How many people have you helped with create those 5 things that you would be proud of? Because you're on the path of helping me. Okay. So let's say that I'm 1. Are you gonna be happy with 1, or do you want 100, or do you want 1,000, or what do you mean? So we can go ahead and be like, hey, you either have these 5 things or you do not, and then they qualify or they do not. How many people do you want to have said, Rob, thank you, I now have my 5 things? How many?
2,000.
2,000 people. In how long?
In a year.
So that you want in the next year. So now you want to, everybody, when you write down these goals, whatever yours are, when you have the answer that Rob gave is, I don't know how to measure this bullshit, like just ask some probing questions around, or have somebody help you get probing questions around it. And you're like, well, we could define it like that. And I don't know whether it's 5 things or 3 things or 17 things or whatever, but now we have something to measure. So my target now, and Rob, a vision of yours could be to make sure that since you learned this from your grandfather, you grew up, your whole professional life doing this for people, you think there's 5 things that everybody should have. And my mission is in the next 12 months to help 2,000 people, whether you want to target veterans or not. I don't know. That's also your mission, how you want to throw it in, to make sure they have these 5 things. Well, and now they can get that in your new, at your website or whatever the hell, go get it here. And then they can fill out a little quiz or assessment of like, hey, do you have these 5 things? Give them the list for the thing and have some kind of measure around it. And now we have something tangible. And you might find that there needs to be 7 things or 17 things or whatever.
Sure.
But I feel like, dude, that was really well done. And a much clearer vision that's going to make you feel proud. Let's say it was 3 years from today. How many people have you helped get prepared?
Exponentially beyond 2,000, hopefully. 3,000, 5,000.
So we just want to pick a number. It doesn't really matter. And it doesn't have to be defined right now. Like when you're not sure, like, the first number that comes out is a willy-nilly, hope and a prayer. But then we can get more clarity about who, what, and why and all that shit. Dude, that was beautiful. And that's all about impact and helping others. But let's quantify it and make it a measurable thing. And many things that when we don't know how to do something, it's typically because we've just never done it before. Mm-hmm. And so then we can go ahead and get caught up in that. I interrupted everybody here about talking about how you do it. I was like, fuck off. No, I just want to know what it is that we're celebrating. And how then that happened. It happened because the 3 of you were open to receiving help. Like, because I was also loud enough to interrupt, but like you're open to receiving that help. Because oftentimes people think they have to do all this shit on their own. And I'm challenging everybody to go ahead and make a list like you have done. And if you were taking notes like I was saying that I was going to do this too, then you made progress today. Now I'd get crystal clear about your vision. Let's wrap this up because I know we're approaching the 2-hour mark. Maybe we just hit that. But get clear about your vision, like Johnny said, and then go take some fucking action. And I'll throw in another P here because it was when you communicate with the world, it was promise. What is your proof? And then your plan. But you know what the core part of today's podcast is people. Because people can help you shortcut that shit. You said there's no shortcut, Johnny? Fuck you. There totally is. Like I can be running in the wrong direction with my hair on fire and not get you. But if the right person gives me the right guidance, Rob, then I'll have these 5 things to prepare.
I appreciate that last line too, because that's there's so many clients of mine that are go-getters that they want things done today or for them, and fighter pilots or whatever, and they just go, hey man, I just want to do the thing. What do I need to do today? And I'm like, well, today, slow down, just listen, just learn. Because I don't want you going just like in the air. You don't want to go the wrong fucking direction at full bore and thinking that you're doing the right thing when you're actually doing the complete wrong thing. So yeah, you just got to have that buddy check, and I'm glad you guys were here for that today. That was really good.
Buddy check.
Yeah. Gang, we are definitely at the 2-hour mark, so I appreciate you guys' time. And we're going to go behind the scenes here in a second. But any last thoughts or excitements, events, anything else that you want to get off your chest before we go behind the scenes?
It's a pleasure to be here with everybody. Learned a lot. Greatly appreciate your insights, Trevor. Thanks.
Now you can see why my book's called The First 5 Fucks to Give.
No, it's been a great opportunity. I definitely appreciate the invite, and look forward to connecting with everyone offline, and eventually at some point, and just continue to be a resource for your community.
That sounds awesome. Same thing back to you, Trevor. Anything else?
Just I appreciate the idea of a buddy check, and so to model that for anybody listening still after 2 hours. Fucking congratulations on being on this podcast for that long. I don't even know that I say the F word that much. It just kind of slips in now. It's like normal, colorful language. But Johnny and Rob, I'd love to make sure that Albert makes a direct connection so we can figure out a buddy check, some type of partnership, a connection of some sort. So whether we work together or I can connect you with someone that you're looking for to help you with what's next. I like to have a call to action at the end of something that when I'm connecting with another human, I want to help. And when you book a meeting from a meeting, Albert, I'm like, hey, can you just make a 3-way connection with me and Johnny and Rob? Mm-hmm. And by the way, guys, if you're listening still, you're just one person away from making all your dreams come true. But you want to get clear about what you want and who that person looks like or sounds like or whatnot. And then if you don't know them, that's totally fine. They're probably not right around you, But you can ask the people around you for help and an introduction to them by saying, hey, Johnny, who do you know who is and you can get an introduction to that person, whether you're looking for a spouse or you're looking for a new business partner or an investor or someone to help you with your freaking preparedness, whatever. I just think that asking for help is one of the smartest, most intelligent, most abundant, most lucrative, most wealth building thing you can fucking do. Get clear about what you want and then ask for the connection and the introduction. And then you don't have to figure out all the shit. Because look how many times I interrupted Rob because he knows so fucking much. He wants to tell you all about it. I'm like, dude, could you just do it for me? Because like, I don't need to know. Why don't you just tell me what to do and I'll just have it done. And then this is how we can shortcut things, Johnny. Now, nobody can do push-ups for me. Can't read about it, to get the benefit. I'm going to have to do that work. But there are sometimes you can just be given the path and then you just get the result. Thank you for having me, Albert.
No, I appreciate all the insight today. Good stuff, gang. And we do follow-ups and stuff like that too. So make sure you guys jump back on anytime and do follow-ups. And on my website too, there's other like meetings, interest forums you can get connected with. I've got partnerships on there and podcasts on there and force multiplier forums and stuff like that too. Because the more we know about each other, the more we can do together. That's what it is. So appreciate you guys.
You too.